Marine Reference Collection, one of the largest marine collections for Trinidad and Tobago. And I know Alana has put out some of the specimens from the collection, where currently we have 673 records, species checklists, and occurrence data from a number of published IMA literature. And we also have the biodiversity data for IMA's long-term coral reef monitoring program that spans 2010 to 2021, and that comprised of 2,026 records. Above all, we are most proud to present to you IMA's Marine Data Hub, a centralized repository for all our data with backend capabilities to allow IMA researchers and project collaborators to upload, share, edit, and visualize data. And it has a public front end for users to view our published data, inquire about research projects, findings, and request data. This marks a new beginning for the IMA in marine data management. The next steps will be focused on fully integrating and streamlining the Marine Data Hub and GBIF platform into our data management workflow from the field to the hub, and maintaining and even expanding our online users' accessibility. Using data gathering tools such as the creation of metadata forms to assist in standardizing our metadata collection in the field and to ensure quality control and to reduce data loss. The use of some of the things that we have to use is the collaborative tools to map and visualize project results to reveal trends and patterns. And this is very useful for decision makers because they like to see everything visualized, right? So no, we wouldn't be taking tablets diving with us just yet, but there's a new future of possibilities and challenges for marine research and collaboration in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is what we're going to be focusing on moving forward. In closing, I wish to thank the IMA project team, who you would meet here this morning, who have worked arduously to develop and operationalize the Marine Data Hub, and everyone who have contributed to this morning's seminar, including the IT team. And luckily, we have an IT team to sort out all these IT issues that you don't think will happen to us. And I must say, IMA is blessed to have such a young, bright, passionate team. I do hope this seminar meets your expectation and the Marine Data Hub provides value to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Juman. So up next, I'll be giving you a little look back in time over the last 2 years on the activities that we've been working on in order to get the Marine Data Hub online. I can tell you, so let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Anjani Ganesh. I'm a coral reef ecologist and a research officer here at IMA. And I can tell you, I know nothing about the technical processes when it comes to data management and geospatial databases, but I worked with an incredible team that helped inform me, and basically there's no turning back. And I think these are necessary tools when it comes to maintaining IMA's role in providing expert information. So as soon as you get the PowerPoint on, we can take a quick trip back in time. There, right. So just to recap, forgot about this one. All right, great. Right. So we are a core team that the project started 2 years ago with a core team of about 5 persons. So myself, I'm the project lead. We have Paul Nelson, our data officer, Lester Dudnath, who is our project manager, Nakia Gooding, our GIS officer, and Alana, who's the curator of the Marine Reference Collection. While this core team has been working on the project for the last 2 years, we were blessed to have additional help throughout the last 2 years. So special shout out to everybody who's helped in the development of the hub, the cataloging of the historical information. We have Charisse, who joined us at the beginning, and she did a fantastic job in helping us standardize a lot of our biodiversity data and working with our regional coordinator. And then our GIS team, who helped integrate our existing system with the new MDH system. So as mentioned by Dr. Juman, IMA's role is to be that premier provider of the relevant marine biodiversity data to provide them to our stakeholders, our decision makers, and even the community. And we need to do that. We need to have the best tools, and we need to have the best international standards to do that. So we had 3 main objectives for this project. The first one was to develop a standardized pathway for logging and recording our metadata that went along with our research and our biodiversity information. And then the second one, which was to establish a marine geospatial database that provided us with the tools to be able to share, well, first of all, store in a centralized location, protect our data, but also allowed us to share with different security levels with our research partners and civil society, as well as with the international community. And our third major objective is to build our capacity to do so. So our skills need to catch up with the tools that are out there. And so a lot of this year was working with the research staff, but also with our research partners in developing a workflow of best practices, essentially, and how we should utilize the Marine Data Hub to our best capacity and be able to have avenues for better collaboration and data management. So how does the workflow work? So we had a lot of marine data. IMA has been around since the 1970s, and we have a lot of historical data that's been in hard copy for a long time. And so a lot of the work we did was focusing on getting that marine data digitized and standardized. And what we do is we put it in the central repository for the Marine Data Hub. Now, the Marine Data Hub has 3 tiers of data users. We have an institutional level grant. So that meant that the primary users are the IMA's researchers, right, and technicians. And we have different research themes and programs. And what this repository aims to do is to centralize all our data so that we have a more holistic understanding of the biology, the chemistry, and the socioeconomic components of the marine environments we work in. And that aims to foster more internal collaboration, which then leads to more research outputs that goes back into the hub. Our secondary users are our research partners and collaborators that work in the government, but also collaborators from NGOs and research institutions regionally and internationally. And the same concept, the hub repository allows us to share on different levels the information, which will foster more external collaboration and then bring more research input back into the IMA, but also back to the public. So IMA is responsible for reporting on many levels. At the national level, we report in the state of the marine environment. We have our national monitoring programs. And what we can do with the Marine Data Hub now is standardize our reporting outputs and make it more efficient. So we have a visual that is iconic to IMA, but that's quickly to be understood. And that happens, like I said, at the national level, but also regional and international, when we have to report to conventions and agreements that we have signed on to, right? So we hope that this repository would assist in making that process a lot more efficient. And then our tertiary users, IMA works very closely with the Ministry of Planning and Development, who house the TTBIS, which is the Trinidad and Tobago National Biodiversity Information System, which houses all the biodiversity information for Trinidad and Tobago in a holistic way. So it allows that visualizations on the national level, and that's what we try to contribute to. When it comes to the international platform, a lot of our biodiversity will get a lot of reach through the GBIF platform. And we will talk about what GBIF is and go into more details about that, but it allows our biodiversity data to get within regional and international impacts. And the last point is a lot of our data is directly linked, our published data is directly linked to our research papers. And so we don't want you to get one without the other for responsible data use and management. And so a lot of our data would be linked to our library. So there is a direct link between the two, right? So we can make sure you have the papers and the data to go with it. So this is just an overview of the activities we did over the last 2 years. We started in July 2021. I think some of you all might have attended our stakeholder engagement back in those first couple of months. And we did essentially have a user needs assessment where we sort of gave you all a lot of forms and surveys to fill out. And we did that at all 3 levels of data users. What we did is we used that information to then design and develop the Marine Data Hub. But before we get there, what we also started to do, this was a 1-year activity that was planned, but we continued it throughout the whole project, was start on the inventory, digitization, cataloging of all our sort of historical publications and getting them online. And so we did spend a lot of time working on that. And a major component of that was the marine reference collection. So we are still putting data up on GBIF, and we will continue to do that beyond the project. So this blue line is going to extend further, I imagine. A major activity that we did last year was the construction and development of the Marine Data Hub. We worked with Geotech Vision Limited to design the hub. A lot of the branding and skills came from the information center at IT here. And the GIS team worked very hard in putting a lot of the data, our geospatial data that existed at IMA, onto that hub. So the latter part of the year was basically transitioning from one system to another so that we can present it to you today. By the end of last year, that's when we started building our capacity objective 3, right? So we did do a 2-day workshop with our internal researchers, and then we had an external workshop in partnership with UE. They received a national biodiversity grant, and we got the institutional level. So we thought it would be really good to do it all at once. So we have all the stakeholders informed of our biodiversity data on GBIF, but also it was the first preview of the Marine Data Hub, and we got some feedback through that workshop as well. This year is basically spent on continuing the cataloging process, but also building the awareness of the Marine Data Hub. So we've been working on videos, brochures, magnets, any kind of marketing so that the Marine Data Hub becomes second nature for when you're looking for marine information. You go, oh, this is the first place I would go to, right? And so that in that way we can build a network of data users. And after this seminar, we're going to be flooding the social media with videos and tutorials. So all about data, which is very interesting now, right? Depends on the context. But again, in this last year and moving on beyond the project, we will be regularly assessing the effective use of the Marine Data Hub. So what we do hope every 6 months is hope that, the usership will grow and the use of our data will grow and be reflected in things like citations or further project collaborations and whatnot. And basically to allow us to keep up with the times, maintain it, and even increase the accessibility to more users in the future. So that's pretty much in the nutshell what the project is about. And I hope are there any questions about that? I don't think so. But if you all do, please feel free to ask. And online, I hope, I ended the slideshow. Okay. So if you all don't have any questions, the real meat comes after me, and the real experts is the team that I worked with. So up next, we have Paul Nelson, who's our data officer. He'll give you an overview of IMA's data and data management and how it fits into with all these tools. So please welcome Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, thanks, Anjani, for that introduction. Right. So good day all and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Paul Nelson, and today we're going to look at IMA's marine data and its dissemination to its stakeholders and the significance of the Marine Biodiversity Hub project. We're also going to present some highlights in terms of the contribution of IMA to TTBIS and GBIF. Right. So in terms of the agenda, first we'd look at the challenges associated with managing data at the IMA, and then what we believe to be improvements. Then we'll discuss the marine data needs and how that need is being met. And finally, we'll look at the MDH, TTBIS, and GBIF's repositories in turn. Right. So in order to clear up any ambiguity, the GBIF project is the Marine Biodiversity Project, but the resulting repository is the Marine Data Hub, the MDH. And the MDH name was chosen as the data that we do have goes beyond biodiversity data. So we thought it fitting to utilize the MDH. So this slide shows some of the challenges that we encountered at IMA in terms of, and it's in the form of a word cloud. So before the advent of the repository, the MDH, it was indeed a laborious task to obtain geospatial products and to achieve data in a timely manner. So each request had to be channeled to the geomatics department, and it added to the departmental workload. So this was true for the existing data as well as creation of new data products. But through the introduction of the MDH, GIS tools were placed in the hands of staff along with adequate training to do some of these tasks themselves. Right. So in order to tackle some of the problems, the team employed the people, process, technology approach, which was popularized by Bruce Schneier, which focuses on the people involved, the processes, as well as the guiding policy, as well as the technology. So first, the team was involved in gathering and understanding the requirements prior to the development. And subsequent to the development, we gave educational and awareness seminars that dealt with the IMA data policy as well as the operation of the MDH. So the improvements centered around the necessary infrastructure as well as adherence to data management best practice. So in essence, the team engaged staff and management, and there was dialogue towards full integration of the MDH into the IMA operations to derive benefit. So in terms of the organizational level, we believe, or we humbly believe, that the IMA is now better equipped to fulfill its mandate. So the team was also involved in workshops where we did the stakeholder surveys, which was conducted with government as well as our external partners, so government and non-governmental organization. And the graph shows the results of this survey. So participants were asked what type of data they would like to see on the MDH. And this is how the categories on the x-axis, the base of it, were identified. So this information would help IMA's research programs to engage in projects that were both relevant as well as able to fill those data gaps and provide the data that we really need, as well as the information, technical reports, publications to fill the knowledge gaps. So the graph indicates the data and information that will be needed, and it will be needed from each of the interest groups. Here we have the government as well as the NGOs. So the stakeholder workshop allowed the team to determine what data the NGOs as well as government agencies had to offer. So we were looking at what we had to provide as well as what those needs were. So the composite external stakeholder survey on marine data needs is shown on your right. And it's the highest interest is for, surprise, surprise, biodiversity data, closely followed by climate change, as well as mangroves and fishery data. So you can see the high levels here, those levels there. And in terms of the internal needs, we were looking at things like water quality, pollution, ecology, and the coral reefs. So the inherent advantages of IMA is the ability to conduct the multidisciplinary research. So where different research disciplines are able to look at a problem from different perspectives. So the hierarchical diagram here shows the research departments at the second tier here. And the research projects that each department is conducting now and is able to produce and fill those data gaps. We have them highlighted here in yellow. So the IMA also acknowledges that it can't go it alone and underscores the need for collaboration, partnerships, and MOUs with our sister agencies and civic groups. And so this is important to reduce the data silos and to utilize repositories to share the data. So the MDH will be supported by a community of practitioners or users to foster this collaboration. IMA also sees the value in making the publications accessible to decision makers and to enrich the body of knowledge. So we have been making publications available via our research page on our website. And this is in addition to the library, which has in excess of 17,000 publications. And it also entertains requests via email and web forms on our webpage. So at our initial stakeholder engagement, we presented a plan, which Anjani spoke of earlier, where we would disseminate our IMA data and publications, and it's seen on this particular slide here. So I will show in the following slides how we're able to utilize the repositories to share that data. So I'll not go into too much detail here, as my colleague Nakia will elaborate on the MDH in her presentation. However, I'd like to highlight that marine data is collated in thematic areas, and this mirrors the research departments that I spoke about earlier, and it will allow us to easily locate the data. So in terms of the data management advantages, we strongly recommend that we have data management plans that accompany the data collection, mandatory metadata, the reduction of data silos, and rewarding staff for their efforts. So the MDH is a platform for collaboration and the channel to export this biodiversity data to the National Biodiversity Archive, TTBIS. So the Trinidad and Tobago Biodiversity and Information System is managed by the Environmental Policy and Planning Division, and the data sets can be accessed via the URL shown on your right there. And TTBIS comprises of a stakeholder as well as a geospatial information portal and an enterprise GIS online. And TTBIS presents data about national biodiversity, their relationships and interaction with the environment of Trinidad and Tobago. So the geospatial information portal houses the geospatial data catalog, and it is divided into the categories listed on the left. So IMA has made contributions to the EGIS online, and these contributions are seen here in terms of the coral reef and mangrove data sets, and there are about 30 items listed in this particular content. So this is an example of using the layers that IMA has contributed to create a map, and it shows the location and shape of coral reefs. And this content is shared to the portal stakeholders, which are EMA, Fisheries Divisions, THA, and the EPPD. So the image on the right is the MDH page on GBIF, and it gives details on the project and its outputs. And the project may be accessed via the link shown beneath the image. And IMA has committed to publish 633 records, but we have actually published 3,439 records with additional 349 records still to be published. And on the left is a list of the publications using the Darwin Core standard for biodiversity data. And the top two checklists This one is a sampling event, and these are occurrence data sets. And I'll give you some more detail in terms of those types of data sets in the following slides. So here is a gift of several sections of a data publication, and we'll go through them we'll look at a few aspects of those. So it's the title at the top, and then there are tabs that provide information on the project, metrics, and the activity. This is followed with a map of the geographic coverage seen here. And in this particular instance, it's for a sampling event. So there are several dates for each particular sampling event. And the metadata also includes a description of the data sets as well as a purpose for collecting the data. And this is followed by the taxonomic scope and guidance how to cite the data set as well as the contacts. So a full list of the metadata is seen in this section here. Right. So the upcoming slides make mention on a phyla, namely the Cnidaria, which is at the top right here, and then the otoliths, Chordata, and Rhodophyta. So this is for persons who are less familiar with what these organisms look like. So GBIF supports 4 types of data sets of the Darwin Core, and we will look at 3D data sets. We would look at 3 of those data sets in these following slides. So first, the checklist. So checklists typically categorize information along taxonomic, geographic, and thematic lines, or some combination of those 3. So in terms of the checklist publication, these were supported by articles from authors listed on the graph here. So the most prolific author being Duncan and Lelam, closely followed by Ledoux and Gubin. So the most popular are the annelids, as can be seen here, which is the segmented worms, as well as the Cnidaria and Rhodophyta. So the second dataset class is a sampling event, and this contains data on the design and execution of sampling events. And the data represented on this slide is for the coral leaf sampling event publication. And the graph shows the number of corals monitored through the years 2010 to 2021, which was almost consistent. And the coral species constitute, the coral themselves, they constitute the majority of the Cnidaria species, Cnidaria phyla, which is not surprising that the largest number of organisms, because we're actually monitoring coral. But what is noteworthy is the fact that the ratio of that to other species like algae, as well as the sponges. So the occurrence class, is this is for the occurrence class, and it deals primarily with observations, specimens, and samples. So the graph shows that Chordata is the most popular phyla here. And the image on the right is a distribution of the occurrences of the macro-zoobentic population in the Caroni swamp. And this representation can be found on the metrics page of the GBIF publication. And the largest number of occurrence records is found in the Marine Reference Collection, which my colleague Alana will discuss in her presentation. And finally is the metadata only class, which describes data sets that are undigitized, and those like those in natural history as well as other collections. But this ends my presentation, and thank you very much.
Don't have any questions online? There's some questions. So somebody, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Ryan Simangal asked, will the slides be shared?
Yes, definitely. We will do a package of minutes and a copy of the presentations at the end. And yeah, it'll be posted on the website. Is there are there any other questions? Before Paul ran away. It's very rare we get Paul in the limelight. Okay. So up next, we have our very own research officer and the creator of the Marine Reference Collector, Alana Jute. She will discuss IMA's Marine Reference Collection and the whole process of transitioning and getting it online onto GBIF and the benefits of having that digital space to play with. So welcome, Alana.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out today. So the Marine Reference Collection, a lot of you would probably not know about it. It's kind of like a secret in IMA almost. The collection has been around since the 1980s, and the original curator was Mr. Richard Hubbard, who worked here for many years. And he was actually the sponge guy and collected not only sponges, but mollusks, which would be bivalves, a lot of shells, and a lot of fish and polychaetes, and so on and so on. The collection was actually built over the 45 years as IMA would always go out in the field. Every project, people would collect specimens. And so the collection just grew over the years. We also gathered some specimens from the fisheries division and students who would have done work over the years in IMA for projects. And the collection has grown and continues to grow. And we use it a great deal as a tool for education and awareness when we go out to schools, career days, workshops, on any kinds of displays. And it's a great way for us to introduce a lot of the public to our marine environment. And so it's a very important part of our heritage. And it is a wealth of data. So these collections, not just here alone in Trinidad and Tobago, but all over the world, collect a lot of information. You have not just information on the specimen, but you also have GPS coordinates. You have things like elevation and depth, and all this data now can be used by researchers to create distribution maps. But additionally, people are also now getting into collecting DNA information, which is really interesting because now we can even possibly find new species. Like this species of bat back in 2017 that was found in a collection in the US, and it is actually now an endemic species of bat found in Tobago, and it was named after Sir David Attenborough. So these collections are very important and provide a lot of information. So we talked a lot about previously, Paul talked about the digitization of our collections. So not only were we looking at our hard copy digitization, but also the digitization of our physical specimens. I put out some for you all to look at today, but if you have time later before you head back out, you're welcome to come and look at the full collection. And we have Sanjeev, who's here today. He was actually an intern with us at the time, helping us with this task. And we are still in the process of doing this because it's a long process. And Paul talked a bit about all the publications that we already have published. And so you will see the Marine Reference Collection there as one of the occurrence data sets with 673 records. And this is currently only fish that we have. And we will be adding the mollusk, the sponges, the annelids, all of these as we go along. And if you were to continue on and click on the 673 occurrences, you would find a nice table with all of these specimens. And then if you were to go in here, you could filter out any kind of information that you may want. You could possibly, for example, go into the metrics, and in the metrics, you can get an idea of, for example, what years. And here you will see from 1970 1978 to 1988 the dates that we have for all these records that we have here. So these are some very old specimens. And if you wanted to do some further analysis, you can pull out all these species. Yeah, and this is just a little sample of some of the species for the occurrences from that data set. So any of you who are doing any reports or fun projects, these are just some of the kinds of visualizations that you could potentially do on GBIF. And another filter you can potentially do is you could go into advanced filter. And for example, I decided to pull out all the samples for 1988. Why? Because all these specimens here are deep sea specimens, and they were collected by a Norwegian vessel back in 1988 that came to our waters and sampled the northeast coast. And these are all from Trinidad and Tobago. So these are great historical deep sea specimens. And here I went back into the metrics, and I could see now how many specimens for each month that were collected in that northeast area. So these are just some of the fun things you could do. I also pulled out some of the deep sea specimens for Trinidad and Tobago, so you could see what species and how many of these species occurred. And if you would like to contribute any specimens to our collection, feel free. If you go out fishing and you find something unusual and you want to just ice it and give us a call. If you have any interest in us coming out and doing a display and giving talks, you could also contact Crystal from our IC department. And if you have any need for the publications, that you will get a lot of information from our library. Yeah, so that's it. Any questions?
Any questions from online? No. Right. We might have questions.
No questions thus far.
Well, that was classic.
Elizabeth Mohammed is stating that she has a comment to make. So Elizabeth, you may go ahead and would you like me to unmute your mic for you?
Yes.
Or you can unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to view this seminar online. So I just wanted to indicate to Ms. Judith that there's possibly another opportunity for a Norwegian vessel to conduct a research cruise in the region. I'm not sure if you're hearing me. Through the FAO, and there have been efforts to Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism in collaboration with the FAO, trying to seek the assistance to get the Norwegian vessel in the region again to conduct another survey cruise. And Ms. Ferrero, who's there, she's from the Fisheries Division, could perhaps provide more information, but just to let you know, the cruise, we're not quite sure the vessel's availability and level of preparedness of the region are things that we need to consider, but it's probably going to be a few years from now, probably around 2027. But we can share data and whatever information concerning the efforts so far with the IMA. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, it would be great to get some more details on that, but it will also be great to be adding some new deep sea information and also compare what we could get now data wise to what was collected back in the 1980s.
Yes, certainly it will be a good opportunity for comparison as well, you know, as having a baseline from the 90s.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it'd be great to talk some more about that. That's great news. Anything else? Nobody else?
Okay, thank you for that. If there aren't any other questions, moving right along to the highlights, to the drum roll. We have Ms. Nakia Gooding, who's our GIS officer, who will introduce the Marine Data Hub to you and give you a bit of a run through of how it works and what to look out for.
Okay, thank you, Anjani. So I have the great task of introducing the Marine Data Hub. So the Marine Data Hub, as would have been mentioned before, was something that was developed through a contractor, and then it was handed to us for us to utilize and optimize and administrate. Although I will be the sole presenter for this segment of the seminar, it has been a collective effort, and it would not have been possible without my colleagues at the geomatics unit, as well as support of the IT department. So just want to make a little bit of recognition for them. So we'll be going through a few things. I'll be covering what the MDH is, how can we access the MDH. We'll also watch some really informative videos about the MDH for a quick tour. I'll show you how the MDH could be used to request spatial data. We'll look at 2 different WebGIS tools. I'll make a plug for you to join our mailing list, and then we'll do a little Q&A if there are any questions. So the MDH is the front end of the IMA's geodatabase, which means it is a repository for our spatial data. And just a reminder, spatial data is any data that has any kind of information that relates to its location in situ on the Earth's surface. So coordinates, area just as Diego Martin or just as Charlottesville and Tobago, even that can just give us a reference for it to be spatial data. So the MDH was created to upgrade the IMA's geodatabase. So essentially, we optimized our spatial database for the use of an enterprise GIS, which means it's going to be used within the IMA mostly. And the MDH is just the front end face of it. It's just what we're allowed to share with public, and then how can public utilize the MDH as well. So there are 3 different ways that you can access the MDH. We have stickers with QR codes. We'll also be posting the QR code everywhere possible. You can access it on the website, which is as simple as mdh.ima.gov.tt. And we also have a linked page on the IMA website. So just going on ima.gov.tt, and on the top banner, there's the MDH accessible for you. So we're gonna go through a few quick videos just to give us a nice toe dip into the MDH. Sweet. So the first thing we're going to look at is just how do we access the MDH. So as I said before, now we'll just get the visual of it, because as most people know, GIS persons are heavily visual people. So this is what we like to utilize. So that's the link that you can access it. And this is point 1 of access to the Marine Data Hub. Or by scanning the QR code. So you'd also notice for our in physical participants, the token that you were given, the QR code is basically on every piece of merchandise in that token, whether it's the sticker, the magnets, the call card, or the brochure. So now we're on the MDH. This is the homepage of the MDH. So we're going to explore the first tab on the banner to the top of the MDH, which is the GeoPortal. When you scroll along the GeoPortal page, you're going to come upon the gallery. which is also the second tab on the GeoPortal page. So this is the gallery. It will be updated over time as we create more web maps and more dashboards. And this is just how it can be searched to find different data that already has visualizations. Or very easy to use points of visualized data. So whether it's using the filters such as item type, location, and date modified. That panel on the left of the screen is just the easiest way that you can use to search for what you want to find. So what we made sure to do when we were uploading data into the MDH is just make it as discoverable as possible. So we really try to optimize things like keywords and tags. Just a reminder that all of these videos that I'm sharing with you is already on our YouTube channel or will be uploaded soon. This one already is. We're not going to watch all of it right now, but you can feel free to visit the IMA's YouTube channel to see the rest of it. So we can stop now and we'll move forward to the next video. So this video looks at the homepage again, but we'll also be looking at like the thematic areas on the homepage, which is just the entry point for the catalog. The catalog is just a listing of all the layers that's on the MDH. So as you scroll down the MDH homepage, these are the major thematic areas that you'll see. And if we were to click on one of them, like biodiversity and ecology, you'd find all of the data that's listed under that thematic area, which, as you can see on the panel on the left, is just optimized by use of tags, but you can also search it through different data types. So if you wanted to optimize your search and you look, it'll even prompt you to tell you, maybe you're using too much filters. Let's expand it, scale it back, and then you'll be able to find the data that you need. So you can even do things like searching through time, as I said, tags. So this is just a quick view into how to search for data and how to locate data on the MDH. And now we look at the second item on the banner of the homepage, which is research programs. So on this page, as you click on it, you'll get onto the page with all the different research programs at the IMA, which is basically all the different units that conduct research under the research department. And if you click on any one of them, you'll be linked to a page that lists its current projects with a little description of the current project, as well as the link page to the IMA equivalent on the IMA website. So it's everything you can need for every unit in one place. And actually, so we recorded this maybe in April. The IMA website has since been updated. It's very spiffy. It's really nice and friendly to use. I also want to make a plug just for everybody to visit the IMA website as soon as you have the free time. And at the end of that research programs page, there's also a library link. And the library link takes you to the page on the website, on the IMA website, where you can search our internal catalog for publications and technical reports, as well as it's a really good point of contact for the librarian here at the IMA. So we're going to move forward. On the MDH, we also have linked the Trans-Tobago Biodiversity Information System. So this repository of biodiversity information sits under the EPPD, which is the Environmental and Policies and Planning Division, and under the Ministry of Planning and Development. And the IMA has a responsibility to upload data as one of the project partners to this platform. So that's why it's also linked through the MDH, as well as it's where you can find biodiversity information, seeing as this was created from a funding opportunity and that does focus on biodiversity information. So now we're going to look at how the MDH could be used for data requests. So if you're not seeing data that you're interested in, or if you want to find out if the IMA has spatial data that you're looking for, maybe you're a student who needs to use it for a thesis, or you're a consultant or a contractor that would like to request data or purchase data from the IMA, this is one of the ways you can go about searching for it. So this is a video that we'll just go through. So at first you need to navigate to the MDH. So by scanning the code or using the website in a browser, you can open the MDH page. Alternatively, through the IMA Director's Office, you can also send a data request letter. So now we're just gonna open a browser and enter the MDH website to access that form. So once you're on the MDH homepage, you're scrolling straight to the bottom of the page. Going straight down the page, passing the blurb about the IMA, and then you're clicking on the Contact Us tab. Once you click on the Contact Us tab, you'll be taken to a page that has information as to how to contact the IMA, but also the data request form on the right. It's a very easy to use form. You're just going to enter particulars so we can get back to you about the data request. So you need to enter your name as well as whatever organization you might be affiliated with or representing, and email so we can email you about the data request. Contact information, in case the email doesn't work out, maybe it might bounce back for whatever reason. As well as there's a drop-down menu for relevant data categories that the data you're searching for might be. And that helps us to really pin down what you might be searching for, right? There's also a short comments area where you can put things in particular like data format, period of time you're looking at, or just any questions or specifics that can help us to either find the data that you're looking for or even guide you as to where you can find it. That's actually the IMA's number if you weren't too familiar. And again, all of these videos are on the YouTube page. There's a MDH playlist for on-screen tutorials. We're also asking one time that you give us a little bit of feedback about the MDH. I think that's about it. So that's just one easy way that you can request data on the MDH. So some of the ways that we already looked at in order to optimize use of the MDH is how easy can we make data readable and visualized for users. So some of the tools we'll be using are WebGIS tools, which just means it's GIS data or GIS output that is hosted on the internet. So which means we can just share it with a link. So one such tool that we made was for the publication of the Mangrove Forest of Trinidad and Tobago book, where we relayed very relevant information as it relates to the mangrove forest of Trinidad and Tobago, whether it was where it could be found, how large these forests are, and how they might have changed over time. Another fun WebGIS tool we made was a web map. So through work with Turtle Village Trust and some turtles that they have tracked, we visualize some of that data to relay how these turtles have moved over time for the period that they were tracked. So I also want to make a plug to join our mailing list. So most of you are here because you are part of the mailing list already. But for anyone that have not been receiving our emails, this QR code will allow you to sign up for the mailing list, where you'll be shared things like YouTube links for on-screen tutorials, the manual version of the on-screen tutorials, updates on new projects through the research programs, new data sets that have been uploaded, whether it's through current or very recent projects, new WebGIS tools, whether it's cool web maps or dashboards, as well as the IMA newsletter will also be shared, and that's something that's put out quarterly. Any questions on the Marine Data Hub? Please feel free to put up a hand, whether it's online or I think we have something online.
Hi, yes. So there are some comments as well as one question. So I'll start with the comments from Deborah. I recently did visit the new IMA website and found the website easy to maneuver and visually appealing.
Yeah, it very much is. I agree, Dr. Lamb. It's pretty spectacular.
Now there are comments from Ryan Simongal.
Yeah.
Things that I like. The TT Biz is featured.
Yes.
You all have videos about navigating the hub.
Mhm.
Having the hub is an achievement itself. Congratulations.
Thank you.
MOUs and metadata standards will be steps in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And those are things that have been kind of prioritized. So there's actually next steps that we need to do, you know. This might be the end of GBIF, but it's only the beginning of the MDH, which means there are things that need to be added even to the data sets that are already there, things like citations for the linked technical reports or publications. So there are things that will always be worked on with the MDH, and that's why it's important for you to join the mailing list so that you can find out about them as we do it. Yeah.
There is also a question from Ryan Simongal.
Yeah.
My only question is, can the MDH include the thematic areas from the National Environmental Policy?
Some of them already do. So Ryan, I want you to take some time and go through the data catalog and in the thematic areas, because you'd realize that the name of the thematic area is related to our research program, but the use of the keywords and the tags is really what would relate to that policy framework you're asking about. And if not, feel free to shoot us an email and we can see how we can optimize it.
Also, there is a question from Siam.
Yeah.
Siam, if you'd like, you can unmute your mic and go ahead and ask.
Hi, hello everyone. Good morning. So I was interested in how we could incorporate citation sightings into the Marine Data Hub, and want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so we had an off-the-screen plea to take us on a trip, but apart from that, it's just a matter of coming to an agreement about how the data could be used, and then once you're okay with how and so we can design something like a web map or a dashboard for citation sightings. And once you're okay with it, whether it's something that you want to share as a project partner with the IMA, with the public, or you just want to keep it accessible only to the IMA and to yourself, that's also something that could be done. So it's just a matter of coming to an agreement, and yeah, and then it can definitely be done. It's not a hard thing to do.
No, we'd like to keep the data open to everybody. And if you're interested in a trip, you can sign up on the form on the Instagram, TT Citations. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I think Elizabeth has a comment or question.
Thank you. No, I was just responding to Sam to say that certainly the Fisheries Division would be interested in accessing data on marine mammal sites. Thank you.
Great. Maybe Siam, you could drop your email or something so Elizabeth could make note of it and y'all can make a connection. Yeah. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, just thank you again, and I'll hand back over to Anjani.
Thanks again. Nikia did a fantastic job over the last years and her team. So it's really worth applauding. And as Nikia mentioned, please go on the website and explore. If you have issues, we would love to get your feedback, good, bad, whatever. So use this time to test it out for us, and that's how we can definitely improve on it, right? And so to wrap things up, I would like to invite our CIO, Ms. Carter Fisher, to give the vote of thanks, and then we can move on to nibbles and drinks and informal discussions.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. Director Acting, colleagues, stakeholders, friends, good morning. My hope is that this seminar was beneficial and that you have identified all the ways that the IMA's Marine Data Hub can aid you in your work, the work that you do in the sector, your research, and whatever else you might find to do with that data. It's my pleasant task to move the vote of thanks, and the IMA's gratitude is extended to the grant funding agency and program that made all of this work possible, and that will be namely the Biodiversity Information for Development Caribbean Program, all funded by the European Union. Special acknowledgement to Mr. Leonardo Buitriago, I do hope I have that correct, from the BID Regional Project Support Team, who guided the IMA through the technical process or processes for formatting and uploading the IMA's biodiversity data on the GBIF platform. Our project partners who loaned their support to this project, namely the Environmental Policy and Planning Division of the Ministry of Planning and Development, the Fisheries Division of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, the Environmental Management Authority, the Department of Life Sciences of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, the Environmental Research Institute of Charlottesville, and the Cropper Foundation. We thank you. We owe a debt of gratitude to all of you. The IMA anticipates that these tools will further research collaborations, aid as well in the development of new research questions and ideas for exploration. We also covet your feedback for the final report, so do not neglect to let us know what we've done well and where improvements are needed. To the internal team headed by Dr. Ganesh and supported by Paul, Lester, Alana, Sharice, our gratitude. And special thanks to Gisha, Nikia, Hannah, Rainier, Vishal, Patrice, and the very many others who worked alongside them, providing the assistance they needed. I hope I have not left any one of you out, but thank you very much. The proof, of course, is in the pudding, eating the pudding, that is, and what you saw here today is testament to both the quality of the enterprise that they would have engaged in, the time and the effort that they lent to the task. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the support of our acting director, Dr. Anna Juman, the deputy director for research, Dr. Banju, and the officer in charge for this research department, Rosemary Kishore. They would have really provided a team with guidance, support where needed, and of course, direction. I want to also thank all of those who would have worked together to organize this hybrid event this morning. Though there were challenges, I am sure you realize that this was a quality event that was put together. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much for everything that you've done to make that seamless approach between those who are seated here in the audience and those who are, viewing online. It doesn't seem as though they are away from us at all. The IMA hopes to share updates of the new Marine Data Hub, uploads and so on will be done periodically. And if you would like to be kept informed, just a plug again for that mailing list, please join. That mailing list will, of course, let you know what's being published, will let you know what future events are being planned. So don't forget that QR code, use it and subscribe to our mailing list. Finally, I would like to thank all of you present here today for making the time to be with us. Without you, there would be no seminar, would there? And we truly appreciate the time that you've taken out of your schedules to join us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
That concludes our seminar. Thank you again to everybody who's present online and in person. We would love to hear your thoughts informally. And yes, have a good day, everybody. So there's food and drink that you can have. Please don't rush off just yet to have conversations.